Hi everyone. Today's been a big day, hasn't it, Sid?
It has been a big day. It's been it's been a big day for the community, and it's been a big day for three players in particular, hasn't it, Raf?
It has. So England's squad for the upcoming Women's World T20 in the Caribbean was announced, and a bit of a surprise in that Mark Robinson has selected three potential new caps in his side, and they are
Sophia Dunkley from Middlesex and Kirsty Gordon from Notts and Lindsey Smith, later Berkshire and now from Sussex. So
you had to get Berkshire in there.
I did. three new names, and I have to say that I am really genuinely surprised by this.
Mm-hmm.
I would have put my hand on my heart, 24 hours ago, and I would have said that there is no way that Mark Robinson is picking any uncapped players for a huge international tournament. England have always been quite conservative, although Robbo has challenged that a little bit in that he has made new selections, and like the tour to India, he brought in some new faces and gave people a try. But after those ones didn't quite pan out, I really would have expected him to go with the old trusted names here, and he's blown my presumptions out of the water somewhat.
Absolutely. And I suppose it's interesting, isn't it? Because it shows that actually it feels like maybe for the first time in a while he's genuinely paying quite a lot of attention to the domestic setup, and the three players, I guess, that have been selected have been ones that have kind of broken through in the Super League but also performed well in the Women's County Championship. And so from a domestic perspective, that's actually quite encouraging.
Yeah, definitely it is. Definitely all three picked on form. That's what he's gone on, and Kirsty Gordon's taken an absolute hatful of wickets this year. She's taken more wickets than anybody else in domestic cricket in this country. Lindsey Smith's been great across the three Super Leagues. She's played really well. The first Super League she got in as an injury replacement in the first Super League. Nobody knew who she was apart from the few of us that watched her play at Berkshire.
Yeah. I was thinking earlier, have Cricinfo corrected her profile yet? Because for ages she was down as medium pace.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I haven't looked. Okay. I haven't checked that. We should check that out. Hopefully they will. Anyway, she came in as an injury replacement then, and she had a really good first year. And I have to admit that we kind of wondered, is that kind of not beginner's luck, but is it the fact that people didn't know who she was? Will people find her out? But she's kept going, kept doing what she's doing, and she's been consistently taking wickets in 2020 cricket in the Super League. So totally deserved selection there. And then Sophia Dunkley, she was the one. If you were going to say that a new player would be picked, it was going to be Sophia, wasn't it? And
absolutely.
You've had your eye on her for a while.
Yeah, so I obviously did that interview with her for The Guardian back in July, before the Super League started, and she was kind of really keen to use the opportunity to stake her England place, but I guess that neither her nor I perhaps expected that that claim would be coming quite so quickly. I think she is perhaps, of the three, she's probably the least surprising, because you would think that in terms of sort of needing that T20 batting, she's got a bit of spark about her, and I think that Mark Robinson really likes somebody that is kind of confident. And what we saw in the Super League was that she was kind of coming out sort of a bit late down the order, when in a couple of quite tight situations, and not being intimidated at all.
Yeah, she's not fazed by stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that actually is what you need in a world tournament against a team like Australia, who just aren't going to give an inch, and who's, you've got Alyssa Healy chirping away at you behind the stumps. You need somebody that's just going to come out and be totally calm, cool and collected. So, it's great for her, and I've just seen her tweet. She said she's really pleased, so it's great.
Yeah, I remember after one of the county games this year, we spoke to her and we said, do you think that, you're on Robbo's radar for England? And she looked at us like, are you mad?
It was
she's very modest.
It was her ultimate ambition, but it's kind of the time at which it's come, isn't it? So, and then Kirsty Gordon has what's been kind of interesting about this is that we've kind of, some of our cricket her campaigning actually seems to have kind of worked in some ways.
Well, I'm not sure it's our campaigning so much
of course.
These are good
it's
players.
The fact that they're good players. Of course, I'm not claiming credit, but it is quite flattering that, for example, in the press conference today, Mark Robinson said, what Kirsty did, basically turning her back on Scotland and coming down and taking up that KSL contract, that was really brave. And the fact that he used that expression, and that's your expression, Syd. So I was just struck by that.
Yeah. Well, what Kirsty has done. I mean, Kirsty's quite a sort of. She's quite an Australian player in a funny kind of way. She's.
Okay.
In the nicest possible way, she's got that bit of the bitch about her that that Alyssa Healy meant when she was talking about bringing the bitch back. That she can be quite aggressive, and she'll just put everything into it. She's someone that's got a real will to win, and I think the Robbo will really like about her. But she's been on the radar a long time. I remember when she first broke through into the Scotland team, and there were whispers that kind of came through when she was 14. They were like, Scotland have got this young spinner. She's only like 14, but she's really good. We saw her play a couple of years later when she was still playing regularly for Scotland, and then she's moved down to Notts. She's continuing to progress. She's worked really hard to get where she is, and I've got nothing but admiration for her. And God, I'm surprised that it's happened so quickly, but I'm not surprised that that's happened and that she's ended up on the selection. And I think that there's a really good chance that she's going to get a game here in the West Indies. I really do.
Interesting. I was just going to say that what's interesting is that recently we were asked to help compile that list for Wisden Cricket Monthly of the top 25 young players in the world, and she was our slight wild card pick, in that she was the only one, I think, in the list that was eventually selected that's never played a full international, and the editors were a bit like, oh, I don't know about that pick, can we justify it? And we were like, no, she's got to be in there, and I feel like we've been slightly vindicated there. Anyway, yes, sorry, you were going to say that you think she's going to get a game. What about the other two?
I think Dunks may well get a game, especially if things don't go so well for one of the other batsmen. And Sophia Dunkley, we should say, is definitely in there for her batting. Her bowling is potentially useful. Maybe more as she starts to mature a bit. I think that England will want to work on her bowling. They certainly won't want her to abandon it, but she's definitely there pretty much purely as a batsman.
And you haven't seen all the quotes from the press conference yet, but. Robbo actually talked about the fact that he is disappointed not to have a kind of sort of a leg spinner in there, or somebody. I mean, obviously Sophia is a leg spinner, but that's not her kind of the thing that she does primarily. And he mentioned the name Katie Levick in the press conference, which I thought was interesting. So he obviously is looking around out there. He wants a leg spinner. So if she can, kind of. I guess keep working on that aspect of her game. I think that's definitely something that will appeal to England. But yeah, if she plays, she'll be a kind of sort of middle to lower order bat coming in a bit later down the order, and that's the role they'll be giving her, I think. And this, potentially the squad is actually a little bit short on backup batting. So
yeah, I mean, let's have a think about the players that didn't go, because two of the big ones are Fran Wilson and Georgia Ellis.
Yeah.
And they both quality batsmen. Fran Wilson had a good innings on the final day of the Super League. She got a 50. Georgia Ellis is a consistent batsman and a very handy bowler. And I still think that Georgia Ellis has got a long-term future with England as the next Jenny Gunn. A very solid player, a versatile player, someone that can be good in a lot of different situations in the way that Jenny Gunn has been over the year. Georgia Ellis probably isn't ever going to do anything spectacular. She's never going to hit 80 off 30 balls at the end of the innings. She's probably never going to take 7 wickets because she's just not that kind of bowler. But her bowling, she's line and length and nagging, and she'll deliver a reasonable economy. She'll take the odd wicket. She's a really good option, for possibly a better option as a fill-in bowler, for example, than Nat Siver.
Well, given that they are a bit short on pace bowling as well, that seems like maybe a bit of a little bit missed opportunity. I mean, Jenny Gunn's a lot of things, but I don't think we can quite describe her as a kind of pace bowler anymore, perhaps. Although she's not a spinner either, but you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, she kind of bowls like a spinner, and in a way. And interestingly, actually, the other pace bowling backup, Tash Farron, is also, I kind of see Tash as a bit of a spinner really, because she's about variety and about not letting the batsman settle and that kind of thing. Tash isn't going to do you on pure pace. She's not going to swing you out the way that Anya might, or bomb you out the way that Catherine Brunt might. So
I have to say I was impressed to see her name in the squad, because my goodness, somebody breaks their collarbone that distance before the World Tournament, you don't expect them to fight their way back to fitness, and that says an immense amount about her character, doesn't it?
Yeah, we were a few yards away when she did it, and it looked absolutely horrific.
Oh, agonising.
Her shoulder was. I mean, I'm laughing because it was just one of those things where you got to laugh because it was so horrible when you look back on what had actually happened to her shoulder as a result of that. It was so, I mean, obviously the medics and the physios have done absolutely brilliant work to get her back.
But also her own effort.
Of course.
Emphasise,
Yeah, of course. But it's great to see her in the team. I'm a huge fan of her as an option for England. She hasn't had as many options as I'd have liked, but she's a really smart cricketer. As a bowler, she really thinks about what she's doing. She can outthink the batsman, and she hasn't got some of those raw ingredients that some of the other bowlers have, but she can use her head and make the weapons that she does have work for her. So I think that she's a good option for England there, and I can totally see why they took her, and I can see why they took her, for instance, in place of Katie George. Katie George maybe been a bit unlucky to have missed out after being maybe the first choice backup over the summer.
Yeah, I was a bit surprised about that, purely because I think that Robbo really rates her, but there you go. And I think the person who I'm most kind of surprised to not see included, I think, is Fran Wilson. A lot of people were saying on finals day, are we watching her stake her claim? And I absolutely thought that she had, and that she had done enough. But we'll have to see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, there's only so many places on the plane, I guess, and maybe you've got to imagine that maybe she was the 16th option, and didn't quite, not this time. But hopefully she'll be back, and we look forward to seeing her again in the future, I think.
Somebody else who isn't on the plane?
Yeah,
Laura
I think
Marsh.
I wonder if that might be the opposite case. I wonder if this might be the end of the road for Laura Marsh. She's well into her 30s now. Well into her 30s. She's 31, coming on 32 in December, I believe. Okay. She's not going to play in the next World Cup. Is that the end of the road for her?
I think you're being a bit pessimistic there. I think from what Robbo said, he still sees her and Danny Hazel as kind of reasonably on a level. Perhaps Hazel just about sort of pipped her to the post in terms of this particular format of the game. But I think I can still absolutely see a place for both of them going forward. But
okay.
Who knows what he's thinking? After today, I don't think I have any insight whatsoever.
Okay.
So do you think, Sid, that with this squad, England can win the Women's World 2020? Can they do the double?
Yeah, absolutely they can. I mean, to a certain extent, I think that a lot of teams can win it. South Africa have had a bit of a nightmare out in the West Indies the past few weeks. But South Africa can still win it.
That's not really what I asked you.
New Zealand can still win it.
Okay.
Australia can still win it.
Great.
And England can still win it.
Okay.
Can England win it? Absolutely, definitely. Will they win it? Well, they've got to be in with it. I think that England are going to be really disappointed if they don't make the final. But 2020 cricket's always a toss-up. One good performance. They're kind of sort of scheduled for a semi-final against New Zealand, aren't they, Raf?
Yeah.
And, we know what could happen against New Zealand. New Zealand have got 3 absolutely world-class players in Susie Bates, Sophie Devine and Amy Satterthwaite. And, 1 or 2 of them fire big time, and that could be England out in the semi-final. So, But it's absolutely a squad that can win it, and I'm really looking forward to cheering them on in a totally neutral capacity.